What's up, everybody? We are talking trades today. New defenders, whole bunch of draft picks, expansion draft, all that on the other side of this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the DNVR Rapids Podcast. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, presented by the 2024 Runner, presented by your Front Range Toyota dealers. Toyota's the official vehicle of DNVR. What's up, everybody? It's your host, Mitchell Carroll. We are a beautiful day in Denver, Colorado today on this lovely Tuesday. And I am joined to talk some PIDs by my buddy and yours, downtown Duane Brown.
I'm everybody's buddy. Let's go.
Everybody's buddy?
Everybody's buddy. That's
like
what you just said.
I like that. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We got a big old news day. Big old news 2 days, really. A bunch of stuff starting yesterday. Rapids trade for 2 center backs. $1 million in game goes to Cincinnati. Coming back, Chidozie Awazium. Chido, as we will be lovingly referring to him moving forward. Ian Murphy coming along as well, a former draft pick by Cincinnati. Played over 100 appearances with Cincinnati. $1 million in GAM. Seems like a pretty solid trade on its surface. We'll get into that. Also, we just bought all of Philadelphia's drafts.
Every damn one of them.
For the cost of like a, I don't know, not great, like a okay MLS player. Right? So you have the shot at getting a lot for the price of one. Right?
All your draft picks belong to us.
Yeah, sorry. Your draft is ours now. And then we're going to talk some expansion draft and then get into some of the other stuff happening this week. You know, free agency. We also have the draft next week. There's combine going. There's a bunch of stuff going on. So we're going to get into all that in the last segment. But first, we got to talk about this defenders trade. The Rapids, who had a great offensive season last year, Duane, they scored 61 goals, led the league in XG. They were a very fun offense to watch. They were only +1 in goal differential. They gave up the most goals of any playoff team. They had the worst defense post-Leagues Cup of any team in the league. They... in short, needed a full overhaul. Started with Reggie Cannon in September, but now you bring in Reggie Cannon's former teammate at Boa Vista in Chidozie Awazium comes in. He doesn't have a long MLS track record. That is only 7 games with Cincinnati. He came in to be a Miazga replacement, but they didn't have a long run in Leagues Cup. They didn't have a long run in the playoffs. So what we know is based on mostly European scouting with his time at Hajduk Split, Porto, Boa Vista. He played in Turkey. I think he played at Alanyaspor and one other place in Turkey. He's played all over the place. Started with Nantes in France. He's played a lot. So, you know, he is a known quantity. He turns 28 on New Year's Day. He's in his prime. If the internet reaction is anything we can go off of, you gotta love what FC Cincinnati fans were saying about Chido is that he's a dog. And his FBref profile says he can pass the ball anywhere. He can carry it out of trouble and progress the ball up the field at his feet. Sounds like he's going to be a pretty good fit for the Chris Armas system. Duane, what was your reaction when you saw this news come down?
I was a little bit surprised. I was expecting maybe one center back, but not two.
Right.
So I think we've got a good depth piece there. And Ian Murphy, you know, the reaction, of course, it's always fun to kind of read the reaction of the fans from the other team and looking at Cincy's kind of folks on Twitter. Everybody was very upset about Chido moving on. Not so upset about Ian Murphy, but I think it's a good depth piece. Yeah. He can start as a rotational piece. He can come off the bench. But, going back to Cheeto, he's got 7 games in Cincy.
Mm-hmm.
He's a defender who's got 2 assists in 7 games.
Right.
As a Rapids fan, what is not to be excited about with that?
Right.
And again, it's not a ton of money.
$1 million in GAM is,
for 2 players.
Right, for 2 players. The funny money conversion rate, of Garber bucks to real world money is, somewhere between like 2.5 to 1 to 4 to 1. Right. So this is while you wouldn't call it a very expensive piece, this is a significant investment to bring in a starter. Right.
Yeah.
And then you bring in a guy who has, I believe, almost 5,700 MLS minutes, or over 5,700 MLS minutes in Murphy. So, he's 100% an experienced guy, whereas the backups, especially once Bombi was gone, were guys who had, Edwards made his debut.
Yep.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you have Chacon, who also, whenever he plays, will be making his debut. And you had Nate Jones, who, whenever he plays, will be making his debut. Right. So this is a guy that's like young, has played in the MLS, has played on good defenses in the MLS. And if that's your third center back, I think you did pretty good there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a quality depth piece. I don't think that he's going to be like the constant starter, in that center back role. But look, man, we've got extra tournaments to play this year. Correct. In addition to a full season. We saw what happens when you don't have depth this past season. Right. It's not great. Right. It's not a great way to end the season. If you got a guy like Ian Murphy as a rotational starter when we need him,
yeah,
I think that's a great thing, and, like you're saying, like both of these guys are Armas system defensive center backs, right?
Yeah.
So when you go into FBref, like everything is progressive passes, progressive carries, really, really good in the green.
Yeah,
in
completions. The green. Awazium specifically was only really in the green in blocks, but he is a good one-on-one defender. Like that is his rep right now. That's tough to put into an FBref profile, right? Because that's something that's, you have like winning duel percentage and all that kind of stuff, which doesn't always paint a great picture. But essentially the book is good one-on-one defender, plays with heart, is a dog, and can fit offensively, which is how scared were we of Wallace every time he touched the ball on a pass from Zach to start the offense? You get nervous. Your heart rate jumps when you see that, right? When you see the ball at his feet, he panics, sends a bad pass, turnovers, goal. How many times has that happened in the last 2 years, 3 years, Rapids history? Like, it's something we're always so scared of. And in this system, you need a guy that can make that extra long pass, right? So say Ronan isn't available, Cole isn't available, but you have Cabral making a run on the far side. You can trust a guy like Awazium to initiate a deeper pass to, make that ball find that next level and make the defense bend around them. So that's exciting to me. That is worth the cost, right?
Yeah, that's good. I still think it leaves us with some defensive concerns.
Depth.
Again, this was a team that was, I think, out of the 18 playoff teams, only one gave up more goals than us. I'm not sure. It was 60, I think we gave up, yeah?
60 goals. Scored 61, gave up 60 in the MLS.
Yeah, so that's concerning. When you're looking at these guys on FBref, obviously getting the ball back down the field to get into that Armas press is what they're here for. But it doesn't look as good on the defensive side, which gives me a little bit of worry. Tackles, interceptions, clearances were not super awesome for Cheeto. Tackles were okay for Murphy. Like he's far better. Interception blocks less okay. Clearances pretty bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll be, well, I think it's going to be great for the offense, right? We've been missing that piece of how do we build from the back and get the ball back into play.
Well, because I think even Moist didn't really do that.
No, but Moist could get back and get in the way.
You know what I mean? Like he kind of got happy feet. He did have a lot of bad turnovers. and he kind of relied on his speed to make up for defensive mistakes. Where Awazium he's played in every kind of league against every kind of team you can see. He has 33 starts with the Nigerian national team. This is a guy that game situation isn't learning on the fly how professional soccer works.
Yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I'm saying? And so you're right. It's been tough with offense from those positions. This could be the thing that helps. This could be the start of the thing to help. And whether that's moving Keegan in next to him, moving Reggie in next to him, finding another center back, based on the Maxu rumors, which we'll get into in the third segment. If you can't fix the defense, but you can make the offense a little better or way better,
it's going to have to be way better.
You know what I mean?
A +1 differential isn't better enough.
I do think the defense is now better, like for sure. Like I think the defense with him, just Awazium in the lawless spot alone, your defense is better.
Sure.
I don't even think we can debate that.
No.
Well, we could, but the Awazium side would win the
dumbest debate.
Yeah. And the Murphy side too, good, helps the defense. That's like you said, we're playing, and not just playing in tournaments where it stops and we're playing that tournament. It looks like
These
both Champions and Leagues Cup are going to be midweek through the season. So if you're playing,
that's going to be brutal.
If you're playing in 3 competitions simultaneously, you're probably playing 2 games a week for a couple months.
Yep.
Right? And that's without any Open Cup participation based on what they do with the rules with that too. You could be in 4 competitions.
I mean, this is without good depth. The squad is gassed in June.
Yeah.
Versus August.
Well, then you were pairing this rumor today with Maxu, and it's like, oh wow, we might need 2 more center backs, right?
Yeah.
You basically do need an extra starter. Now, it doesn't have to be like a plus starter. It doesn't have to be an all-star. It doesn't have to be, you're not burying somebody on the bench, but you basically need someone who is good enough to start in the MLS as your extra starter at every position group. So you can rotate through, right? And luckily you have guys like Reggie and Keegan back there who can play a center back if they need to, right? Who can go to the left or the right. But having these guys that can be sort of an extra body to start, you're going to need that immediately because Armas did not rotate last year.
Yep.
Pretty much every 3-game week, Rafa, Georgie, Cole, Maxu, Bombi, Keegan would play 90. Every single 3-game week would play 90, 90, 90. And
yeah, I think some lessons were learned there.
Yeah, I would hope so. The numbers are horrible. I was reading the Tuesday Outlook over on MLSsoccer.com today, and yeah, post Leagues Cup, the defensive numbers were horrible. Absolutely worst in the league, horrible. And doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that. We watched all those games. We did all those losers lounges, where it was 4-0, 3-1,
yep,
4-2. Like it was just bad game after bad game defensively. And this is at least, when I go into this offseason, I'm thinking like, okay, what moves are we going to make? Like we know we want defenders. Okay, cool. We know we want a wing. We know we want a 6, whatever. To go and invest a significant amount of money, right? This guy is going to be on $1 million wage. Right, he cost $1 million in Garber bucks, so maybe around $3+ million as a transfer on the global market. That says to me, we know that's a problem. We're investing there. That's a good sign to me for the rest of the positions that we know are holes, because that means they are willing to invest to fix the problems, especially when you're so good in some of those positions, anyways. Right, midfield, pretty solid. You definitely want a 6 archetype to fill that, but you're solid. Striker, pretty set. Attacking midfield, pretty set. Goalie, pretty set. Right? So now you get, okay, we invested in defense. Great. Let's get a similar sized investment to fix the wing and to fix that 6 hole.
Yep.
Does that sound?
And then depth.
And then depth.
Which we may already have.
They really do believe in Chacon.
Yeah.
They love Chacon. And I've watched Chacon practice a ton. I've obviously never seen him set foot on a field, like on a competitive game field. And Leeds has just scored. I'm sure our guy Kevin is pretty excited in the chat there. If you heard the DNVR bar going crazy for the Leeds goal there. And Dustin brings up Nate Jones as well. That's a guy they're intrigued by. I will say intrigued is the word I would use more than like hopeful
for
Nate Jones. You know, he's a guy that is more of an archetype than a prospect, right? You say, this guy's 6'4", he has a left foot, he is physical, he can win aerials, but he hasn't totally done it yet, so we're not sure if it's there, right? So I wouldn't bank on Nate Jones being involved, but Chacon I would. I do think you're too deep now at center back. Now with Maxu, you're too deep at center back.
Yeah.
Right? Without Maxu, you still need another center back. Honestly, you might still need a center back anyways. Right?
I mean, depth-wise, you have to have another one, you know. I want that to be Nate Jones.
Me too.
Just for vibes. Like
just for Yaya's my guy's pick from last year to be justified.
He needs to get a minute. Just on vibes alone, you know, Nate Jones just seems like a guy who has fan favorite potential. Like
totally.
Big dude, good personality, you know, as far as like just enjoying the game. You know, he's got the hair going on. He's got, you know, just super physical game. I think fan favorite potential is very high. I think dog potential is very, very high for Nate Jones. So, yeah, if we sign somebody cool, but I sure hope it's Nate Jones instead. You know,
somebody cool.
We'll see. No, I think if we sign somebody, that's cool.
Oh, okay.
I think Nate Jones is already cool.
I mean, I would prefer cool versus a nerd. Don't go sign.
I mean, if
nerds.
You're good, we'll take nerds. Like,
actually, Reggie on the show, he was kind of a nerd in a good way.
No, well, I mean, he's an anime nerd, but that's a cool nerd.
That is a cool nerd.
Yeah,
we do celebrate the nerds here. You know, free agency is coming up, right? So free agency opens up. I don't know where. Actually, Alyssa, would you mind pulling up the 2020? How'd you label them? 24 and 25? Can you pull up the 25 depth chart? Thank you, super producer Alyssa, on the ones and twos today. This is where I have us right now. I didn't include anybody who had their option declined, right? So there's no Seb Anderson on there. There's no Wallace Abubakar on there. There's no Michael Edwards on there. You know, I don't know if those guys are going to come back.
So for those of you that are listening and not watching, this is what we have. We got a goalkeeper. We'll build from the back. A goalkeeper, we've got Stefan starting and Beaudry. At left back, Vines and Jackson Travis. Center back, Maxu currently as a starter. And then we've got Ian Murphy as the new kid. Nate Jones. We've got Cheeto on the other side, and then Chacon and Rosenberry out on the side with Cannon. Then in the center mids, Bassett and Larraz, and then on the other side, Ronan, Loffelson, and Wayne Frederick. Attacking mid, obviously, is Georgie. Over on the left wing, Cabral and Fernandez, and then on the right, we've got Harris and KSB, and then, of course, at striker, we've got Navajo and Yappy.
And look, this isn't what I'm not saying I know this is what their
We're just putting
their depth
people
chart
in
is going to
spots.
be, but these are the players that either started the most, so I would assume they're starting again, or, you know, like Ronan, like everyone wants Larraz over Ronan. For sure, I want Larraz over Ronan. I'm not a big Ronan guy. I like Ronan, but I'm not a huge Ronan guy, but I do think he still starts over Oliver Larraz. Right. So that's kind of where we had that on that depth chart. So
I think it depends on the six.
You know, you could bring back Edwards, get the sixth center back. You could, you know, or they could just go get somebody. I'm not entirely sure where we're at there. But those, you know, Edwards right now could go in either reentry spot. So he might not be back. You know, Lawless could go in either reentry spot, might not be back. Now, if Lawless wants to come back at like a third of the price of his option, if he wants to make $200K instead of 600 plus, great. Welcome back, right?
Sure.
You and Murphy can start on a cup day, you know?
Sure.
And that would be fantastic. Still need an attacking midfielder, I believe. I do think you need to find a true 10 and not 6/8s that think they're 10s. You just need a real 10 that can pop in there behind Georgie. And you need another wing because Omir left unprotected. Obviously didn't have a great year. KSB, young, could be good. Don't know. We'll see. So,
yep.
It's pretty interesting. We'll see. Free agency opening up. I'm not expecting.
There's a lot of holes.
I'm definitely expecting more once the Jan 1 window opens up than I am the free agency window Thursday in terms of filling out this roster. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think January is the bigger.
My guess is more out of country coming in versus interleague guys as free agents. So we'll see there. On the other side, we're going to get into this Philly draft pick haul that Padraig Smith pulled off. We're going to talk, what it means. Is it the craziest trade we've ever seen? Like all sorts of stuff there on the other side. But first, gotta talk about our friends at Toyota. Man, we love Toyota here at DNVR. So much so we made them the official vehicle of DNVR. Pretty sweet to have our own official vehicle. Can't lie. That's pretty sweet. That makes us feel pretty legit. Look, whether it's trucks that are perfect for Colorado, whether you're, Spence, my counterpart in the events world here at DNVR, he's got one of these new Tundras, man. We load that thing up, head up to a Buffs game, get the tailgate going, and his truck is loaded to the gills. It's perfect for it, right? My Highlander filled to the roof, or I throw up that third row, take a bunch of friends to a concert or a game. It is perfect for Colorado. You have the 2024 Tacoma. You have the 2024 Land Cruiser. They also have 16 different hybrid vehicles to choose from. Reduce that carbon footprint. Make yourself green. You can even get a truck. If you want a Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck, you're being green and being utilitarian. It's great stuff. Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides in SUVs like RAV4 and the Grand Highlander. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is a proud partner of the Colorado Rapids and the official vehicle of DNVR. We are also brought to you today by our friends at Empire Today. 588-2300 Empire Today. Jazz hands. Look, you need a new floor. Why would you go anywhere else but Empire? You get shop at home convenience. You get the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a price match guarantee. Look, they do all the shopping so you can have a simple experience when it comes to buying new floors for whatever room you are working in. There's so many options for flooring. They go through all the catalogs. They go through all the suppliers. They go through all those companies, find what they think are the best possible floors for you, and then present those options and cut out all that decision-making and make it as easy and streamlined as possible. You can take a picture on their virtual floor designer of the room you are looking at installing new floors in and just swipe. Swipe, 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 swipe. Find the right one. Looks good. Great. Get it ordered. They will handle the rest from there, all the way down to servicing the warranties themselves. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DNVR. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DNVR for details. All right, we're back. DNVR Rapids hanging out on a Tuesday afternoon in the Mile High City. Beautiful day today, Duane. Beautiful day.
Giggling at the chat where Jared is asking how much does a Highlander cost in GAM.
I wish I could use GAM.
I bet Padraig Smith could get like 5 Highlanders for like $100 in GAM somehow.
He's a Jeep guy, famously a Jeep guy.
He is a Jeep guy.
Yeah.
There might be someone in the chat.
Look, he knows a lot of ball, but he doesn't know a lot of ball because he's not a Toyota guy. But he's close enough.
Might be in a guy in the chat who knows a thing or two about Jeeps and Porgs.
We're a Toyota place here. All right. Another trade happened. A weird trade. So honestly, this might be one of the weirdest trades I've ever seen, regardless of sport.
It's wild.
To permanently, or sorry, not permanently. I'm thinking of the other weird trade the Rapids have done before, which was when they permanently acquired one of Real Salt Lake's international slots in perpetuity. Less than 10 years into the league existing, they just grabbed it, said, that's ours now.
Dummies.
Sucks to be you. We see 8 draft picks. 8 draft picks. That is a first-round pick and a third-round pick this year, and first, second, third for the next 2 years after this, 26 and 27. 8 draft picks for the cost of $350K in GAM. That's pretty good. That is a lower-level MLS player at $350K in GAM. That is, you're taking a lot of swings there. And it's Philly punts on it. They say, we're not interested in the draft. The Rapids say, we are. We just sold our first-round pick from 2 years ago for $8 million to a team in France. So we're going to go ahead and take some more cracks at this and build some pure profit on the balance sheet. And I think it's a really smart way to go. I really do. You have Crookham in charge of R2. You have Padraig and the scouting department just absolutely crushing the draft. They're able to move around, and Padraig knows every little rule when it comes to the money. Duane, he knows.
He's a finance guy.
He's a finance guy. He knows what you can stretch out a little farther years than other teams know. He knows, he puts together these creative packages. So when he says, I'm buying 8 draft picks from this team for not very much money, I assume he's fleecing that other team. Regardless of where the picks come from, that to me is like, why did Philly agree to that? What good could come of this from Philly?
I don't think Philly is a big believer in the draft. Obviously with this trade, but Philly is known, as being a build through academy club. They've had great success with that.
Sure.
So the draft is not an important thing to them. They really are dead set on bringing in from academy. So It makes tons of sense for Union to sell those. You're not going to use them anyway. It makes a ton of sense for the Rapids because, going back to 2017, I remember just watching Padraig package weird picks into GAM or into a different player or into an international slot or whatever it is. We jokingly refer to Padraig as the Jean-Claude Van Damme of MLS. And he really is a wizard with getting in the kitchen and cooking up something weird with some sweet, sweet GAM. And here he is getting 8 draft picks. Do I think the 3rd round picks are going to be used? No.
No, they never do.
But I think he may package those into something else, whether it's a higher pick or whether it's into more GAM for later, or it could be something like an international slot for a season if we need that to bring in something. He's very, very creative in how he flips these picks or he turns them into a better pick or more money. It's a strange, weird bit of magic and wizardry that Padraig Smith has with the draft. No one believes in the draft. NWSL got rid of the draft.
Right.
People make fun of MLS's SuperDraft, and all Padraig does is get in there and find people like Moise Bombito and sell them for a bunch of money.
Yeah.
And there's smaller things. You look at Marcanic,
sure.
We pulled him, we flipped him over to St. Louis and made some money. That's all. You take a couple of these lower ones, you already get your $350 back.
It takes one Marcanic.
Yes.
That's kind of what I've been trying to
get
say
your
with
money
this.
back.
And I am no stranger to explaining weird MLS processes around this office. And, people ask okay, what's going on with this? And it's it literally takes a Marcanic.
Yep.
Right? It takes one Marcanic And all of a sudden that 350K, you just did it. Good
Yep.
job. Now
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
other
your
picks
money
are
back.
plus. All
And-
your surplus, everything else.
Exactly.
And so, from the Philly side, I get it from the Porg side. That guy wants every single route, right? Wants
Yep.
every single option available for himself to build this team, right? And if that means we get extra swings in the draft for not that much money, we're going to do it. And so for Philly, one of Philly's best players came from the Hungarian league. You think they would know that no stone unturned is the way to build a successful MLS team when you're not LAFC or Miami, right? Or Galaxy with all the money. And yet they're just punting on a team, on a route where, sure, it's not a lock that any of those picks are going to play an MLS minute. But why not give yourself the chance? Why completely punt on the chance? That is what is so dumb. Sure, yeah, we want to go through the academy. Whatever, you still have the chance to add players that route. It's insane to me that they decided to just say, no, we don't want to go that route.
It's just not their strategy.
It's a dumb strategy.
They've been in, they've been in the final more than we have in the past few years using that strategy.
Yeah, but they didn't trade away all their draft picks to get there.
But they didn't really use those draft picks to get there. They built from the academy. So, I mean, look, everybody's got their strategy. If Union doesn't want to use the MLS SuperDraft for that, awesome. Like, we'll take it because I know Porg's good at that.
Well, I don't think Porg is using the draft to build the team. He's using it as a crapshoot on guys like Bombito.
Yeah, but you get a player or two. Like, you got 8 picks. You already know the third rounders probably are not in play.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got 3 first rounders that you could put into play for sure. You could package those with second rounders to get better first rounders.
And your own first rounders.
I think it was Crash said something in the chat about Sam Bassett. That's a player.
They can sign Sam Bassett as a homegrown. They
can. Yeah. So it's... Look, those are cheap, Jared's saying lottery tickets. Those are cheap scratch-off lottery tickets. And, I mean, you don't have to hit on every lottery ticket. But when you hit on a Moise Bombito ticket once every 3 to 4 years, and I'm not saying that we've done that, but in the past 3 years, we've hit on one of those. Man, $350 sounds like nothing to get that. So I think this is a super weird trade, not something I was expecting to see. But I love it. Like, it's so weird that I'm glad the Rapids own that kind of weirdness.
Now, Philly's going to advertise this as up to $600K in GAM. They will. That's how they, from their end, which is, it's a dramatic increase. That's a much better MLS
extra.
player.
Sure.
But from what I understand, it's going to be very hard to reach those extras. Right? Like, even Moise Bombito, right, who is going to be the main talking point every time we talk about this trade forever. Even he barely played in his first season. It took his second season for him to be an impact MLS guy. He became an all-star, whatever, shot to the moon. But there's no way that I don't know specifically what these conditions are, but I'm assuming there's a lot of, you draft this guy, he's an all-star, you give us $100,000 or something. Like, there's something like that. Yeah. It's going to be tough. But again, all it takes is hitting one time. You have to hit one time.
Even if we have to pay out the extra $250, who cares?
Right.
Like, who gives a crap?
Because that means it was worth it.
If we've got a good starter, either to stay with the team or to sell, again, it's super weird, but I think it's worth it. Totally. Especially when you're a club who has to be creative because you're not Miami, who's just, Scrooge McDuck swimming around in the gold coins to get whoever they want. This is a team that has to be creative, They have to work harder for it. They can't just go, let me throw money at the world's greatest player and get them, we have to be, this is going to sound crazy. We have to be better than that.
Right.
We have to be a lot better at this game than Miami. We have to be a lot better at this game than Galaxy or LAFC because we don't have the pocketbooks that they do. So the way that you game the system is by doing crazy stuff like this. And I think it's weird and hilarious, and I do think it's going to be worth more than the $350. I don't know if it's going to be this year or next year. 2027, could even be 2028. Like, we don't know when these guys are going to develop.
Right.
But I do think it's going to turn into something good, and it might take a year or two to see that. But I think it's a super weird, goofy, awesome trade. I'm for it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is, look, Padraig is like if we're doing the cooking analogy, which we did on our thumbnail, right? Padraig's cooking.
Yep.
You're filling his pantry right now, right? And these draft picks, some of these draft picks are very strange ingredients, right? It's like white pepper. Who uses white pepper for anything? That's nothing. But the recipe that needs it, you have it.
Yeah, right? I don't even know what that is.
Exactly.
So.
I don't like it as a spice myself, but it's available, right? It's any of these things where it's like the more options you give him to cook with, the better dish you're going to get. Right? And so, is a Philly third round pick in 3 years worth anything? Not in the aggregate.
Nope.
But is it a piece that leads to a piece that leads to a piece? Yeah, probably. And it was dumb that they gave him up for nothing.
You have to remember that along with the 3 first rounders that we get from them, we also have all of our first rounders. Correct. Like, don't forget that these aren't a swap for our picks. These are an addition to.
We could do
I mean, we literally have 6 first rounders over the next 3 years. When you package that up, like, look.
Yeah, it's like an NBA trade.
Like, it's not the NFL where the first 10 picks are probably very good. Like, MLS SuperDraft, as we look over like the past 5 years or so, it's somewhere in those first 3 to 4 picks that you're going to hit, at least serviceable starter and maybe gold.
Probably 3 to 5 really good MLS players per draft at the most.
Yeah. But if you can package 2 of your first rounders for somebody else's much higher first rounder, throw in a little Jean-Claude Van Gamme, then you've got yourself a second overall pick and you get that guy you want. Like, we can do that every year because we have 2 first rounders every year plus 2 second rounders. Well, not this year.
You see these NBA trades go down, right? Like the Knicks got Mikal Bridges from the Nets. They threw 5 first round picks at somebody. You can't say no to that. So maybe there is a guy on the market in league and you say, here you go. We'll help you build back through the draft. Like if you're a star player on a bad team, we'll send you 4 first round picks. Boom, boom, boom. Right?
Yep.
But, as Jared said, these pieces do take time. There's a lot of guys.
You got Wayne Frederick. You've got Jones. Like, these guys, Frederick's going to be a starter soon.
You can now draft and stash. So not only, then this is new, right? So not only do you have all these picks, you have a massively expanded prospect pool.
Yep.
Right? So the guy that you had on top of your list in 2027 beforehand can now be at the top of your list this year. And you can pick him with that extra pick you got.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for guys to graduate from college anymore. Now, if there's a guy that you're really after who's a sophomore and is not directly involved with somebody's academy, like, you can draft that guy and he finishes college, is already connected to the club, and then you just bring him in. So it's not like you are having to wait for these guys to graduate anymore.
Totally.
All these rules that changed last season, right before MLS SuperDraft, are rules that the front office of the Colorado Rapids talked to us about 2 years ago. They said, look, the draft rules are about to change, and we're going to take advantage of that.
Yep.
And this is part of that process of building, not just through academy, but starting to create your stable of potential starters and or rotational depth for the Colorado Rapids. And one weird way that I did not see that ever happening was literally taking all of the picks for the next 3 years from one team. Insane. Insane. I love it.
All right. We got a whole bunch of news to get to on the other side. We're going to talk expansion draft, Andreas Maxu. We're going to make fun of the depth chart we made for last year's offseason. Go through all sorts of stuff. But first, we got to do a little housekeeping, and we have to talk about DNVR events, because we have some great ones, some fantastic ones. Look, this weekend, Broncos had a bye week. Sunday was boring because I couldn't lock in to the Broncos like I wanted to, although Josh Allen did save my fantasy season. But this Sunday, we got the Broncos back, baby. Come hang out at DNVR's tailgate. We are live. We are live at, geez, they are yelling down there. Good Lord, trying to do a show up here. At Sports Fan, 18th and Federal. We have a lot overlooking all of Mile High Stadium. We have Primo Hoagie, sexy pizza, tons of beer from Breck Brew. You might meet some former Broncos. Who knows? It is the spot to pregame a Broncos game. Doesn't get better. Come check that out. More importantly than that, we got a top shelf Nuggets suite takeover coming up. 2 days after Christmas, December 27th, Nuggets Cavs. Hang out with the DNVR Nuggets crew in a suite at Ball Arena. You get a party bus from here, hanging out with all the Nuggets fans. Take it from here to the game. From the game back to here for post game. This place upstairs here, the studio will be full of Nuggets fans watching the post game show, getting rowdy. It's super fun. There's also 300 level tickets available in that as well. You get some sweet merch when you buy the sweet ticket. You get some other stuff, so it's all worth it. So check that out over at thednvr.com/events. Keep an eye out too if you're headed to this Buffs Bowl game. Keep an eye out. We're kind of trying to cook some stuff up there. Have a little fun before the last Shador Travis Hunter Buffs game we ever get to see. Kind of sad, but should be really fun. Again, that is at thednvr.com/events. All right, folks, we are back. DNVR Rapids hanging out on a lovely Tuesday in the Mile High City. Segment 3. Still got a lot to talk about.
Even the Leeds fans are excited about all that we still have to talk about.
How excited Leeds fans got for segment 3. Today a report came out. Well, let's actually do the order of operations. The expansion list comes out at 10 a.m. this morning. I think I had an idea of where they're going with this, but there were some surprises. So, super producer list, if you could pull up that expansion draft list, the graphic with all the players. Nope, perfect. There it is. This is who was left exposed. Now, this is, I think, a little misleading to me because, Abubakar, option declined. Bandry, option declined. Jonathan Lewis, option declined. Remy Cabral, not coming back. So, they're available because they were already made available, right? So it's you're not going to waste a protection slot. That was basically automatic. Maxu, you're kind of surprised. He was a DP, came in on a pretty expensive contract, bought down a little bit to get off of that DP tag, but still, a pricey player, has been good, not great. I think he might be the highest range of where Rapids fans rate him of any player on the team. He has his elite moments. He has his bad moments. He's not very fast, but he is a dog. I think he's a good leader in the locker room, one of the older players on the team. But he was left unprotected. And you go, interesting. I know they do need to overhaul the defense. Gave up a bunch of goals. Makes sense. They just added a defender. And then Tommy Scoops, friend of the show, pulls out a report. He is in negotiations with a team in the Middle East, which is interesting, but not surprising. He is in the mode of, getting into my 30s. Why don't I head to a league where they overpay everybody? Right? Why not? And so I doubt San Diego picks him when you combine that with the report from Scoops. Because why? Why would you when you hear that he's in negotiations with a team somewhere else? But, maybe they can convert that into some sort of something and make a little bit of profit out of it. Who knows? But Omir and Jasper are probably the only two. I don't know if anyone on this list gets picked, Duane.
The thing is, most players on every team's list do not get picked.
Right. It's 5 picks total at the most.
Yeah, expansion draft, you only can take 5. So most teams put out this list knowing that none of their guys are going to get picked. I given what, Bogert put out about Maxu, and the Rapids and a club in the Middle East, if I'm San Diego, I don't want any part of that. Like, I'm trying to build a new club. Like, I don't want to deal with a player who wants to go somewhere else and make a bunch of money, which great. Good for him. I hope if that's how it works out, I hope that they overpay the crap out of it. Cause man, I'm happy for any Rapids player who goes and gets that bag,
Absolutely.
Like, let him go get it.
Getting the bag.
Yeah. I was surprised to see Omir on the available for selection list. This Omir is a guy who was just brought in. He was the first MLS free agent signing. And the Rapids made the move on that. He is clearly a favorite of Chris Armas. Started some games when a lot of us were like, that's an interesting choice. I don't know if I would have made that. Clearly a guy who has a good rapport with Armas and is one of his guys. Yeah. So I was really shocked to see that. Do I think, given all of the players that are available in MLS for San Diego to pick, would they pick an Omir Fernandez? Probably not. No. There's other options out there. So I think Omir is pretty safe. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't even remember a Rapid who was taken in an expansion draft.
And I don't think there will be. And some of these guys on that list, Lawless, Lewis, you can just get them through the reentry process. There's 2 stages of reentry coming up. Yep. Well, no, Jonathan Lewis is a free agent. You don't even have to do reentry.
He's available Lawless, pretty much right away.
But Lawless, you can, if they want to pick up his option at $600K, doubtful, they can get him reentry 1. If they want just his rights, you can pick him up in reentry 2 and negotiate with him then. I just don't see any of these players going. Now it does signal intention, right? Or if not necessarily intention, it kind of does forecast where you are planning on putting this team together, right? So, okay, Omir's available. That means they're not happy with how the wings went. And me, like an idiot, I decided to basically rewatch in chronological order every scoring chance, offensively and defensively, from this last season. I'm through Leagues Cup. I'm into the last few games of the year. And let me tell you how many goals Omir should have scored last year versus how many goals he did. That guy was, I don't know if there was a magnet in the ball and the goalkeeper's body, but he probably should have scored 6 or 7 goals last year or more, and he just couldn't finish. It is the Jonathan Lewis problem. It is the Kevin Cabral problem.
It's the Rapids problem.
And it's the Omir problem. And it's the Rapids wingers problem in perpetuity, it feels like.
Yep.
So it makes plenty of sense that they'll say, okay, yeah, if you want him, we can find another winger to also not score goals at a cost level, right? Like he is not irreplaceable. He is, in fact, very replaceable.
Sure.
So it makes sense that he's gone.
Yeah. I like what Jared said too about, I also think J-Lou would make a good fit in San Diego. I don't think they need the expansion draft to get him because he is a free agent.
Correct.
So I think they can get him on the cheap and be able to go that way versus through the expansion draft. You got a guy through the expansion draft that you like on the wing, go get him, and then you can also bring in J-Lou as a free agent.
Now with the expansion draft, I do believe they can get his rights through the expansion draft since he's unprotected, and that way you do have first negotiation, and then say, he wants to go to New England or somewhere, they can sell his rights for $50K in game or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So there is reasons it makes sense. There's reasons that it would be silly to do so. I think most of them are silly. And honestly, I just don't think any of the unprotected guys are good enough for San Diego to invest any time in.
Yep.
And that's, that seems harsh, I guess, but like what?
Business,
do you want to pay $600K for Lawless if you're a brand new team?
It's just business, man. Like, when you get into this, it's as a player, it's business. Like same, all of us have regular jobs. You choose the job that you want to get for this much pay to do this amount of work and to take on these responsibilities. It's the same, that when you're joining a professional sports team as a pro athlete, you're going to be moved around, especially if you're not that perfect cog in the machine. There's a chance that you're not with the team forever. So I think it's pretty normal. These guys know that. Still a surprise to me to see Omier on that list. But again, I think he's a Rapid moving forward into this season. I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, and we know guys like Bandry and Remy. Bandry was literally a body to have it back up while Beaudry was doing international competition. He's not an MLS guy. Remy, not an MLS guy. Nate Jones, there hasn't been an MLS guy yet. Maybe they take a swing at Nate Jones.
Yeah.
I would be surprised, but it's possible. You don't know what San Diego's scouting department has been like and where they've focused, because they have existed as an organization for a while. But you don't know who they're targeting because they've only bought like one player, right? So it's like, we don't know what they're looking at. But I don't think they're looking at the guys that the Rapids deemed not worthy of the Rapids. I doubt San Diego's saying, "Oh, well, come on in."
Yeah,
and maybe I'm wrong, and I will eat crow if that's the case. But I don't think I'm wrong on this one. I don't think any of these guys are getting.
No, I think we're good, and I think most. Again, this is not a Rapids thing. I think most fans of most MLS teams are feeling pretty good about their players that are on the availability list. Yeah. Like most of your guys are coming back, if not all of them.
Yeah, with Maxi specifically, as Crash brings up, that's they got him for like $300K because they were going to agree to him either way. He was either going to come in the summer of 23, but they got him in the winter instead. Right. And so they did send a little bit of money to Brøndby, but not a ton. And you're talking to those oil money countries, you're sending back, you got to imagine it's 7 figures. If not, it's not going to be 8 figures, but 7 figures, I would imagine. Sure. I think it's good business. If he wants to leave and you can make money, I think you let him go.
Well, this is the thing. Like, if he's made his intentions clear, like whatever, I don't think the Rapids reached out to the Middle East and said, "Hey, Middle East, we got this guy." Right.
No, his agent did that.
Yeah, it's his agent that did it. So if he's on the look for money, then do the Rapids want to have a guy who may be looking somewhere else versus looking at Dick's Sporting Goods Park, to be home and to really do his best work? And if he's not, and the Rapids have been very upfront about their young guys and their veterans is, we're going to try to do what's right by the player and the club. This is doing what's right, especially if they get a little something back from whoever this club in the Middle East is. Win-win.
Perfect. I am really curious in answering Jared's question, but we are going to do that on the other side of a super short break. All right, we're back. DNVR Rapids hanging out. Little mini 4 segment coming up. Okay, Jared's talking about Beaudry's situation is interesting. Do we go back to the well for a more senior backup, re-sign Bandry, or have Beaudry sitting behind Zach Steffen? If I had to guess, and this is a guess, this is not source, this is not reporting, this is not anything. If you want to maximize Beaudry as an asset, which you have a guy coming up through the academy as a homegrown, this guy is an asset. I do not think you view him as a long-term MLS starter. I think you view him as a way to bring in pure profit to your balance sheet. And how do you maximize that? Well, you're not going to maximize it sitting behind Zach Steffen, but you're not going to put an 18-year-old as your 19-year-old, whatever, as your everyday starter in the MLS. I think you look for a loan partner, overseas preferably versus in league, and you hope that he's going somewhere where he can start. Because, this guy was starting games in some Youth World Cups. He is, he's when you're looking at the long list down the line of goalkeepers in the U.S. soccer ecosystem, he's up there, right? Like he is on the list. Like the U.S. is going to factor him in long term. That's an asset. Figure out how you can make the most out of it, right? Like, let's figure out if he can be good starting for a team in, I don't know, Belgium, Czech Republic, Greece, Portugal.
You have to get him minutes.
Lower level England. Figure out
Yeah.
where he can go and play a bunch. See what you got. Raise that value. Maybe Stefan has a great year and turns around those shot-stopping numbers, and you can sell Stefan and insert Baudry and raise his value that way. But I don't think Baudry... I think Baudry will play a lot next year. I just don't think it will be here. If I had to guess. Because it makes the most sense developmentally for him, and it makes the most sense in terms of building him up as a future sale. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to get him minutes. So I think a loan partner would be great for him. You know, I can't imagine anybody would not want to partner up with somebody like Baudry because he is young and shows potential already at that young age. So look, man, everybody loves American goalkeepers.
It's what we do best. One of our best exports.
So it's right there if somebody wants to bring him in. If they don't, then, you know, he's on R2, and I think he can come up, you know, and play. I think he stays with the first team, but he's allowed to, you know, work with R2. And I think maybe he plays some of those tournaments.
He's too good for
I think
R2.
he is too, but if he's here, your choices are limited.
Right.
So, you know, I think a loan is the best choice for him, best opportunity for him to get those minutes, and hopefully it happens.
And then you just bring in an MLS vet to fill that spot behind Steph, right?
Yeah.
Like a guy who's okay not playing, but making money and training with Sharpie every day.
Sure.
Like, it's actually a pretty good sell for a guy like that. Like, you can find a very good backup when you have a guy like Sharpie, who Tim Howard had induct him into the Hall of Fame. Like, this is a guy with a very good reputation as a keeper coach. It's a good sell to come be Stefan's backup and learn from Sharpie every day and train with Stefan. So I think that's where it would go. I'm not making any crazy predictions for free agency this week. I don't see any big moves happening. That is the next thing on, you know, after the expansion draft. Also, CONCACAF Champions draw is
Tonight. 5:00.
I believe there is a possibility that they match up with RSL. I think the pots line up to the point where you can draw RSL
Love that.
or Vancouver. To me, those are the two most desirable options. You know, I think you can also get Pumas and America, which, you know, the Rapids do own Liga MX, so maybe we want a Liga MX side. But yeah, it is pretty likely that they weren't good enough to end up on pot 1. They were bad enough to end up in pot 2. So they are going to draw a better team than them, or at least an on-par MLS team at worst. So give me an RSL rematch in CONCACAF. That sounds fun.
I'm down for that.
We own that.
RSLs,
We own that club. Check the trophy case.
We do.
We're
we
in
do
charge
right now. We do. They made another move on offense. So, you know, so we've got to match up to that. So we've making some moves on defense. And
sorry, B-Ray. I couldn't remember all the teams available. Look, to me, I'm not sitting here breaking down every possible outcome and stuff. It's not worth it. I don't know enough about Liga MX or CONCACAF.
You can watch it on YouTube.
Yeah,
YouTube.com/CONCACAF, 5 p.m. Mountain Time.
See, that's what I'm talking about, Jared. I'm trying to get to Mexico for an away day. I'm trying to get to the Caribbean, maybe. Send me to Jamaica.
Bus trip.
Come on, DNVR.
From the bar. Meet up at DNVR bar. We're going to get on a bus
to the Caribbean
and drive to Mexico.
It's going to be a blast. Follow along. You know, there's a chance, you know, hey, if something crazy happens in free agency on Thursday, or, you know, stay tuned, because there's if something big does happen, we will be responding live. We'll jump into a live show. We'll have some stories up. Go check out the stories I've been putting up over at thednvr.com. Duane, go ahead and plug us out of here, bud.
Wherever you are watching or listening, give us a great review. If you're watching with us right now on YouTube, hit that like button. If you're not subscribing and joining us just in our little subscribe fam, then go ahead and hit that. Wherever you're listening, drop us a review. Really helps out with our numbers. And those numbers are important, not just because it's about us, but it allows us to do more things, how we cover the club. So it's about, when I say about us, it's about all of us, meaning you, our listeners and watchers, along with Mitch and I. So we sure do appreciate it. If you are panicking because you're like me and haven't really started Christmas shopping yet or holiday shopping yet, hey man, get to store.allcitynetwork.com. some great PIDS shirts in there, or whatever team that you're following, Avs, Broncos, Nuggets, all of that stuff is in there. They make super great gifts, diehard subscriptions, all of those things. Thanks to the chat. Chat's been popping
God,
today.
it was great to have the chat back. Thank
Man.
you guys so much for showing up, man. It was super fun.
Two shows next week.
2 shows next week. We'll be
So-
live on our, I believe we're going Wednesday,
We got
Friday.
Wednesday for special Pidsmas show for all of you.
And then a post-draft live show on Friday.
Post-draft on Friday.
Not that anything crazy is going to happen in the draft, but hopefully we'll have somebody to talk to, and we'll kind of just break down what happened, and by then some free agency moves may have happened, whatever, all that. So definitely follow along with us. We appreciate you riding with us. Become a diehard at thednvr.com. Get behind that paywall. Read all my writing. I got a bunch of fun stuff coming up, bunch of projects. We appreciate having you guys here. We love it so much. We'll see you next Wednesday. And more important than all of that, baby, up the Pids.
We all silly like the mayor.